Well, take a look and perhaps grab a cup of coffee.
What comes after health care? Somebody might someday say we're going to ban the big gulp. How would that be? Oh, that's right, they already did that, sorry. But what's next? We got health care, we got the big gulp. I mean, you name it, they're coming. They're coming after your donuts. Did you hear they're coming after the trans fat in your donuts?
And joining us now is McKay Coppins, political editor for BuzzFeed, and Gary Johnson, former governor of New Mexico and a 2012 presidential candidate. Mr. Johnson, is it time for Americans to start stocking up on their donuts and protecting them in underground shelters?
You know, Martin, I have celiac disease. I'm allergic to gluten. If food is not labeled, I end up ingesting poison. So I think a fundamental role of government is to protect us against individuals, groups, corporations that would do us harm. I think food labeling is essential. It doesn't cost anything, the requirement of food labeling.
Big government. Big government. That's what Rand Paul's saying.
Well, to me, that's not big government. That's allowing me to make a choice as to whether or not I want to consume something with trans fats in it. Now, I think if products that have trans fats in them are clearly labeled that this product has trans fats in it, let me just predict that that product will not be on the market for very long because there is an awareness of trans fats that they won't be sold anymore.
Okay. You've actually seen that Dunkin' Donuts and Krispy Kreme, the two top donut retailers in the country, have already taken... I know a lot about donuts. If there is a war on donuts, I think you and I both know which side I'm going to be on.
I'm on your side. I love donuts.
But they've already phased out trans fats, right? And customers didn't notice, and it wasn't that much more expensive.
But here's the thing, McKay. Isn't he using exactly the same argument that was used over the gun debate? It's the same principle, and it's not an accident that he's doing that in a state which will be important in 2016.
Are you suggesting that Rand Paul has presidential ambitions,
No.
Martin? You would never.
I wouldn't.
No, I mean, look, I think that if you strip away the hyperbolic war rhetoric from this, it's a fundamental issue about government regulation, right? And that's what the libertarian Republicans, Governor Johnson has a different take, but what a lot of libertarian Republicans oppose is this idea that government can come in and say, these are the ingredients you can use in your food, right? But the other thing at play here, and why Senator Paul probably thinks this could catch on, is that for about 5 years now, we've seen Republicans really react harshly against Michelle Obama's crusade to make healthier eating habits throughout the country.
To reduce childhood obesity, which is at epidemic levels.
Right.
And I applaud Michelle Obama for doing that. Yes, we are obese. We eat too much of the wrong kinds of foods, and we don't exercise enough. And thank you,
Governor
Michelle
Johnson
Obama, for bringing about that awareness.
Were you judging me for eating the donut in the green room back there?
Mr. Johnson, does it seem odd to you that he's attacking government in front of soldiers, or future soldiers, at the Citadel, when we know that many of those good men and women will end up needing government when they come back? One of the problems we have at the moment with the food stamp slashing through the Farm Bill and everything else that's happened, veterans have suffered. And yet he stands up there and says, oh, forget government.
Well, see, I've got a different take on that. I think the takeaway that I have from what he's saying is, and I agree with him completely, is that but for our military interventions, we would not have hundreds of millions of enemies to this country that we currently have as a result of our military interventions. Where I get crossways with when it comes to libertarians also stand for equality, a woman's right to choose.
You do?
Well, libertarians, I do, yes. Immigration is a good thing. Let's not build a fence across the border. That's crazy. Non-military intervention, yes. Look, there's an alternative to bombing the world. And that alternative could result in less enemies to this country.
Why is it that when Mr. Johnson sounds like that, he sounds entirely coherent and someone who's plausible, and when we listen to Rand Paul, he makes ludicrous analogies and nonsensical statements about donuts and so on?
Well, I think, Governor Johnson, would you say that Rand Paul is a true libertarian?
Well, that's where I wanted to point out. I'm crossways with Rand Paul on 4 issues. A woman's right to choose, marriage equality, drug policy, and yet Rand Paul would say that these should be state issues. I happen to think that marriage equality is a constitutionally guaranteed right. It's kind of like driving your car from New Mexico to Texas. Look, if I have a 17-inch tire in New Mexico, I want that tire, to be able to roll into Texas. Even I don't want them to pass legislation that says I can't have a 17-inch tire.
Former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson, BuzzFeed's McKay, Coppins. I wish we had more time. Gentlemen, thank you. Coming up, one